talk about some buzz regarding what's happening with Shedeur Sanders. Okay, welcome back. Happy Friday. I hope you got your glass of wine. I hope you got you some snacks. We getting ready to get into it. I put together a good show. I was on a members only live stream early today. It went really well. And I told them, I never know what I'm really going to talk about. And it was a couple topics I kind of thought I was going to talk about. And then he said, no, I want to talk about where it started. Right. So I've been listening to people for the last 48 hours to talk about Shedeur should walk this way. He should talk this way. He should stand this way. He should wear his hair that way. He should be like this. He should be like that. And here's the thing. All that means is that they are looking for a reason to eliminate him, right? To eliminate him from ever becoming a QB1. Now, at this point of the game, if they wanted to cut him, you would think that they would have. And it's not like they haven't tried. It's they can't for a reason. And it probably has to do with, instead of 4 million fans with 8 million eyes, it's probably more like 6 million fans with 12 million eyes, right? Maybe a little bit. They really want to cut it, but they can't, so they keep picking on it. They keep picking on it, right? And when you hear, well, he hasn't played a meaningful game of football, that's absolutely a lie, right? Shedeur Sanders balled out on NFL caliber QB1 level, as if he had been there before. Against who? The Panthers. Yes, that game mattered, because best believe they always want to talk about the Rams game and how he was scrambling around. But what gets overlooked is they're not talking about why it is Kevin Stefanski would set this young man up. That's really the more egregious problem, right? Really the more egregious problem, that you actually have an NFL head coach discriminated against a quarterback. Now, Cam Newton said today, I don't believe the Browns have Shedeur's best interest. And he's right about that. He's right about that. And one of the reasons I think Shedeur is catching so much heat this year as opposed to 6 years ago or 7 years ago is because history has been made, right? Am I happy about this history? I am. But is the NFL happy about the history that 16 black quarterbacks out of 32, which is the halfway mark? If you know your math, divide 32 into half by 2. Black starting quarterbacks have reached the halfway mark. So if you have a scale, it's even. White starting quarterbacks, black starting quarterbacks, it's even. What does Shedeur do to that scale? He tips it into the black starting quarterback favor. And then it becomes more black quarterbacks and less white quarterbacks. Cam Newton was also one of the few people to say out loud that white starting quarterbacks are becoming a minority on his own show. Now, recently, he said that Cleveland doesn't have Shedeur's best interest at heart. Facts. And I posted here on X, and it's getting a lot of traction, that the Browns, really and truly, the Browns don't want NFL fans to be excited about Shedeur Sanders because they have absolutely no intention to play an elite quarterback who can win this year. Did they give you the impression they think Dylan is elite? No. They don't even give you the impression they think Dylan is elite. But they know Shedeur is elite. Why? Because they interviewed him for QB1. They interviewed him for QB1. Now let's slide on over and talk about Emmanuel Acho for a second. Emmanuel Acho likes to make a false comparison that Shedeur Sanders is not moving correctly, and the things that he does, he can understand why he's getting backlash, because no corporation in America would be okay with it. I'm like, pump the brakes, bro. The NFL is not your average corporation. In fact, in the book by DeMaurice, what's his name? DeMaurice Smith, Turf Wars. And on the Breakfast Club, he talks about how the NFL is not even regulated like most businesses. The NFL don't even have to file the same Schedule 10s and all of the SEC documentation. No, they just out here running around. They just out here running around. And they were a nonprofit. But finally, they start paying taxes recently, but nobody's holding them accountable for anything. That's why if you want change in the NFL, you have to go before Congress. You really think that's going to happen this year with the way things are right now? No. So, Emmanuel Acho, please stop making a false comparison to the NFL as if it's a standard member of corporate America that has to comply with workplace rules and regulations or else. Did the NFL even get fined for a data breach and giving out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to 2,000 people that did not need to know after they lied about it? No. Which is why Kevin Stefanski is going to be the dumb criminal that gets them all busted at some point, but not today. That's why they're so bold with it. What they didn't anticipate was the backlash from 6 million fans, and probably even more than that. They have a who gonna check me boo attitude. You know how they have a who gonna check me boo attitude? When I say the Browns do not want to win with an elite quarterback that they have right there on their roster. Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback the Browns have. Go argue with your mother. He's also the star of the team. Go argue with your mother again. He's the star in Cleveland. They don't like that. He's the best quarterback they have on the roster. They don't want that because he tips the scales in the black QB1's favor to having the most black quarterbacks to start for the NFL ever. It's a lot that they don't like. They don't like his celebrity. You know why? Not because it's a circus. They don't like his celebrity because they don't want to be exposed. And 6 million fans are holding them accountable right now. They don't like his celebrity because they can't let him get excessively sacked over and over and over and nobody say anything. People going to protest. Isn't that what's already happening? Fans clamored and climbed all over the Browns doing camp. Remember the little fake competition? You know it's against the law for the employer to bait in an employee or a prospective employee with promises of you're going to be the starting quarterback. And then when you go through 7 interviews, HR call you and tell you, yeah, we want to offer you the job. But hey, we want you to be an entry-level quarterback. And instead of $46 million that we thought you would qualify for, we only think you qualified for QB3 at $975,000 a year. You can't do that in corporate America. You cannot screen somebody for a job at $46 million. And when they go through the interview process, which is open and takes place and involves multiple members, you cannot get to the end after 7 whole interviews and say, yeah, we're going to make you the intern and we're going to pay you 10% of what we were planning to pay you because we don't think you're worth it. Then why not just move on to somebody else? See, the Browns could have moved on to somebody else. Oh, wait, they did, but they didn't tell nobody. They didn't tell nobody. They quietly pivoted to Dylan. But then when you got Shedeur over there, so let's say HR call and they want to offer him the $975,000, 10% of the $46 million, $4 million. And he said, okay, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. And then he go over there. Are you really trying to tell me after 7 interviews that he's not good? You would have known that after interview 1. The EEOC is what prevents standard corporations from acting this way, from baiting and switching employees. The EEOC, lawsuits, courts. See, the NFL has arbitration. Well, they did. And now that you have John Flores case running through the courts, that changes things. That changes things because somebody in Shedeur's situation might decide to sue and they don't have to go through arbitration. But we haven't gotten there yet. We just now got to a point where Brian Flores can actually go through the courts. Let's see what happens. Let's see how long it takes. The NFL is not a standard functioning corporation. I've said that multiple times. So for Acho to keep screaming at the top of his lungs that Shedeur could never do this in corporate America, in fact, you're actually wrong. Corporate America could never discriminate against Shedeur Sanders the way the NFL has. Cam Newton said he doesn't believe that the Browns have Shedeur Sanders' best interest. Does the NFL? Because the commissioner allowed this young man to be humiliated. The commissioner is over the NFL that sent out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to 2,000 people who did not need to know and lied about it. And then that phone number, along with proprietary information about who's getting drafted, falls into the hands of Ole Miss through the New York Giants, where the pipeline from Ole Miss to the New York Giants runs through the Mannings and the quarterback position. No corporation could ever get away with this type of malfeasance. They would be shut down. Somebody would go in and snatch every goddamn technology device they have and take it and start looking through it for evidence of widespread collusion, defamation, discrimination, and fraud. So when Acho keeps saying no corporation, you can't do this at no corporation, no actual standard corporation in this country could discriminate against this young man publicly and humiliate him publicly like the NFL has. So no, the Browns don't have his best interest at heart because they want somebody else. The question is, why does the NFL not have his best interest at heart if they invited him to the combine and invited him to the draft to humiliate him? Why is it the NFL don't have his best interest at heart? That's the real question people should be asking. I know why the Browns don't have his best interest at heart. Why doesn't the commissioner have his best interest at heart? Did we just see them standing and having a very cozy conversation? So they are familiar and know each other. So why is it the commissioner doesn't have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart after allowing Shedeur to be invited to the combine, after allowing Shedeur to participate in the draft? Because they told him no, they didn't have to invite him. There were people that did not get an invite to the combine. If the NFL did not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, they did not have to send him an invite to the combine. Shiloh Sanders did not get an invite to the combine. Shedeur Sanders did not have to get an invite to the combine, but they could resist all of the millions of fans that he could bring with them. And now, since we here, we holding you accountable. See, that's what you get for being greedy. Yeah, they have a who gonna check me boo attitude. The way things are today, they may not be tomorrow. Understand that. Everything that's could flip on a dime tomorrow or the next day. There are no guarantees. So the who gonna check me boo attitude is nothing but arrogance, and that's what they run it on. So the NFL doesn't want quarterbacks like Shedeur, but invited Shedeur to the combine to exploit him, invited him to the draft to humiliate him. And this is why. Because the NFL knew, just like I did last year, that the majority of the black starting quarterbacks would take place this year, that the scales would tip this year, that it would be official, that for the first time ever, black starting quarterbacks would become the majority. And guess who's number 17? This young man right here, which explains why the commissioner might decide to look the other way. Because the commissioner is just a figurehead, while 32 incestuously close owners dictate who's going to play on their teams, including the Cleveland Browns. So no, the Browns don't have his best interest at heart. That is obvious. It's obvious that when Haslam ran out there with Andrew Berry in tow, and I know if you check his taxes, he gonna write it off as a business trip, that they went out there to scout who? Arch Manning. So much so that in Cleveland, the damn ESPN Cleveland that's always chasing Shedeur decided to start tracking college quarterbacks with Arch Manning at the top. He ain't nowhere near number one. And this just tells you the talk in Cleveland behind the scenes was Shedeur is temporary. We're going to get our guy with our first round pick next year. So that's why they're shunning the elite talent of Shedeur Sanders, because they don't want him to stay. They don't want to win with him. They would have rather had the Manning kid, which is why they created this tracker. And guess what? There is no week 4 tracker. You know why? Because UT is down in the dumps. Because the person at the top of the damn tracker, their team is 0 for 0 in conference play. So how can I come out number one in the draft? I mean, you can, but you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, especially after shunning the true number one quarterback coming out of college, Shedeur Sanders. That's why. This is precisely why they have no interest in Shedeur Sanders, and he's parked at QB3 on their roster. On their roster. And if you put him on a practice squad, the talk is going to elevate as to why nobody's trying to get him, and we're going to go right back to the damn draft. And we're going to put 2 and 2 together and say, oh, y'all colluding against him in Cleveland too. Yeah, they are. They're restricting his movement, which is the very definition of collusion in the NFL. This is a collusion case they would not win. They would need judicial help to win it. They would lose this based on evidence. This case would not have to go through arbitration because it wouldn't be brought by Shedeur Sanders. It would be brought by fans. Because fans have been misled. We think we looking at competition. We didn't know you was out here playing musical chairs. We didn't know you were out here discriminating against the black players. We didn't know you thought black players in the NFL were inferior to whites. We didn't know that. They don't want Shedeur Sanders because bringing 6 million people with you ensures we're going to see it, talk about it, and want to hold you accountable for it. And there will be consequences and repercussions, which is what they don't want. Who going to check me, boo? Your damn fans. That's who. Your fans. So they're being careful not to send him to the practice squad so you don't ask questions. They're being careful for their own benefit not to let him get to QB2 because they know he the best quarterback on the roster and he will be QB1. That's why Joe Flacco's QB2. They are willing to risk malpractice to hold this young man back because who gonna check me, boo? Things didn't work out with UT the way they wanted to. But I want you to remember all of that talk about Arch Manning winning the Heisman, all of that talk about him coming out and being number one, that just died down like that. But nobody can seem to turn off the faucet about attacking Shedeur Sanders, can they? You see how that worked? When the Mannings want you to stop talking about Arch Manning, you do it. But you have no respect for Shedeur Sanders or for Deion Sanders. That out of courtesy of your longtime coworker and somebody that made you a gaggle of money, you would stop discriminating against his son and trying to publicly humiliate him. But see, this right here is a threat. 16 black quarterbacks in a league that has been fighting black quarterbacks since 1920 is a threat. And Shedeur Sanders, number 17, shows you the extent they're willing to go through. Shows you the extent they're willing to go through to prevent 17. I don't think it's coincidence that Lenora Sellers got concussed right out the gate. I don't think it's a coincidence you don't hear about him no more. Just like it's not a coincidence they don't talk about Arch Manning no more. You can't possibly campaign for a player to be the Heisman when his team in the SEC hadn't won no goddamn conference games. Maybe that's why there's no week 4 tracker. Because they're going to abandon that effort. So who you going to get now? I mean, you could have always gotten Carson back. You could have let things play out naturally and use your number one pick to get Carson back. Oh, okay. His name don't carry what Shedeur's name carry. His name doesn't bring what the Manning names bring to some people. I think they overestimating that, by the way. If you ask who's the bigger star, it's Shedeur by a long shot. They want it to be the Manning kid. That's not the actual situation, but they're willing to rig it to get it there. They want it to be the Manning kid, but it is Shedeur, which means, and not Andrew Berry, Haslam has a bird in hand, and he willing to throw it in the trash to get a bird in the bush that he can't even see and don't even know who it is. And he thought he knew who he was going to be, but that's not working out. That's not working out because UT has not won any conference games. And they at the back half of the bottom of the SEC, above Mississippi State. And guess who's in front of UT? Lenore Sellers and South Carolina. See, when Lenore Sellers was predicted to come out number one, they started trumping up all of the noise about the Manning kid. Then the season started. And now UT is down here. And no more trackers are getting put out. So now they got to go back to the drawing board. Who we going to get? Because they don't want Lenore Sellers. Which is why his daddy should have took that $8 million, like I said. If he married, they're going to be divorced behind that. Because he told that kid, his son, you don't need $8 million. Do you not understand what the hell it is you getting ready to send your son to? Slaughter. And then he got concussed in the most disgusting way. And they showed they didn't value him because his coach had to fight for a penalty. He was laid out for 5 minutes. These people ain't playing no games when it comes to the majority of their quarterbacks being black. At the starting position that you're going to see on TV every week, that's supposed to be in the ads every week. They'll run around and start talking about the damn tight ends and the O-linemen before they talk about 17, 18, 19, or 20 black quarterbacks. So no, the Browns don't have his best interests at heart. The question should be, why is it the NFL does not have Shedeur Sanders' best interests at heart? He didn't beg them to be included. They invited him, lured him in, made him feel a false sense of security in New Orleans during Super Bowl weekend by inviting him to the game, inviting him to the exclusive rooms with the owners. But then they ambushed him in the draft. Oh, you should have had an agent. With all due respect, if the commissioner is laughing and talking with you and y'all on a first name basis, you don't need no damn agent. Because the contract was supposed to be non-negotiable in the first place. But we see that's also a lie. Why doesn't the NFL have his best interest at heart? People keep wanting to know what the NFL Players Association with. I'm like, I guess they busy on the back of a goddamn milk carton. MIA, missing. But even before the NFL Players Association, where's the integrity of the commissioner? Who's over this league? But see, the commissioner know who took Shedeur off the board. The commissioner know who gave out Shedeur Sanders' phone number. The commissioner knew ahead of the draft that something was going down because he told Shedeur, I'm worried about your pops. And Shedeur was like, wait, what, huh? And nobody had any knowledge, not even Coach Prime, that he would end up needing a bladder replacement surgery. So that wasn't it. Coach Prime wasn't sick at all. He was on the stage at the NFL Ring of Honor with Bill Belichick, which lured Coach Prime into a false sense of security, making him think he was one of them. And then they ambushed the Sanders, period, including Shiloh. Why doesn't the commissioner, whose grandson was on Coach Prime's roster at Jackson State, why is it that he doesn't have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart? Not only because he's a member of the NFL, he knows him on a first name familiar basis. Now that's what you call backstabbing somebody. Lure you in to make your friend And when they get you alone and isolated, they humiliate you. And then they tell you about it before it happened, which means you knew it was planned. So Shedeur Sanders deserved nothing but respect for being able to cope and endure the toxic environment that he was lured into. Starting with the whole bait and switch interview pre-draft process. I never saw Haslam run on out to Colorado and show that he wanted to get Shedeur. And when they did fly out to Colorado on about April 4th for CU's Pro Day, they invited him to dinner and act like they had a choice to make on whether they was going to get Shedeur or Travis. Bait and switch. That's fraud. Shedeur is being shunned. An elite quarterback is wasting away on the bench because Haslam took Barry to show him who he wants to get. So Barry is a go fetch. Barry think he doing something, but he the go fetch. This who I want to get in the draft. So I have Shedeur because they made me get him. They made me get him. And they can't make me play him. We're going to see. Because if they made you get him, they can make you play him. Understand that. All the favors in the world ain't going to change that. Because when you enter into business, having people to force you into things, they don't stop. So, no, the Browns seemingly do not have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart because they are discriminating against him openly because they have had this competition at least 3 times. He won it, it's documented, and they don't care. They want to move on because they can't put his talent aside and start talking about Dylan knows the rhythm of an NFL week, which has nothing to do with playing football. In other words, just like in the draft, Shedeur Sanders being drafted 144 wasn't because he lacked talent or they didn't think he was good. It's because if Shedeur had gone number 2 to Cleveland, he would have been on this post right here as number 17 of 32. And they not having that. If they willing to hurt players in college and disrupt college NFL players who are eligible for the draft, if you are black, Kato Salter, Robbie Ashford, Lenore Sellers. They love you if you're a sophomore because you're not eligible. Because they love Lenore Sellers last year. But you see, he eligible this year and he ended up heavily concussed. Because they don't want him to come out first. Because why? Haslam wasn't at South Carolina game. Haslam was at UT versus Ohio State. And he wants somebody from there. I hope you see what they're willing to do to these kids. I think the movie Him that just came out has resonated with some of the players that are starting to resign. Because the movie asks, what are you willing to sacrifice to play this game? And the answer is yourself, your health, your emotional state. There's going to come a time where if you black and you playing NFL football, 5-10 years from now, maybe 17 years from now, people going to think you must want to be a slave. Because see, until Shedeur got drafted, people didn't know all of this was going on. People knew the NFL had an issue with Colin Kaepernick not wanting him to kneel. But that scene between Colin Kaepernick and something just around it. But this right here, and Brian Flores' lawsuit making his way through the court, and the other lawsuit by an NFL fan, this is a game changer. When NFL say they don't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, it's because they already knew they had 16 and they didn't want 17 with Shedeur. That draft was carefully orchestrated so Cam could go first because the story would have not worked with Cam going to Cleveland because Cleveland has never had a first-round black quarterback drafted. They didn't want Cam either. Cleveland interviewed Cam, Milroe, and Shedeur with the intention of getting none of them. Again, Haslam knew when he went to Ohio State game with Barry in tow what the message is. It's a message to Shedeur, we don't want you. It's a message to whoever's watching, we getting somebody from here. Let's see what happens. Because as far as I know, you're going to have to take the Manning kid and he ain't won no conference games. That means you're not getting the Manning kid so he could win games for you. You're getting the Manning kid so you could revive his granddaddy's fan base. This ain't about football, ladies and gentlemen. This is about resisting change. This is about blocking Black elite quarterbacks from the QB1 position, because according to the NFL, maybe 16 is enough. We didn't want that. But it seemed like when it comes to getting number 17, we're going to have to go to war first. They not playing about 17. Look at how poorly Shedeur has been treated. Look at how the players that are eligible coming out of college that are Black are being treated, cheated, including our own Caden Salter. And you have to be a blind man not to see it. All the excessive sacks. That's why I'm glad Shedeur ain't playing. CJ Stroud sacked excessively. Caleb Williams sacked excessively. Bryce Young sacked excessively. The Carolina Panthers can't seem to find a way to win. The Texans, they in trouble. I think it's Caleb Williams' backup just got $10 million. Hopefully they still winning. If they can't get him this year, they'll just move on to CJ and come back and get Caleb next year. And if Shedeur was playing, they'd be on him the year after that. Shedeur is on the sideline for his own protection till he fully understands this ain't got nothing to do with your daddy. And yes, it has everything to do with not you being Black, but you being a part of history. You being the one that was chosen to go to Cleveland and be in the pre-draft process with Cleveland as number 17. So that it doesn't happen and we're going to blame your daddy for it, which is why the commissioner could say, I'm worried about your pops, because it was a plan and it was already in place. And that's why they started freaking out when Shedeur got to number 1 quarterback coming out of college based on talent. And nobody can see to get the NFL to knock it off. Because that's what they would say. Without saying, they would say knock it off. As if it's that simple. But look at how much harm it's doing to these young men. So when you hear them talking about Shedeur and you hear them saying he needs to do this like this, or walk like that, or talk like this, or don't do that, or he's not good enough, or he got standards, the most important position, it's so that you see Jordan Love and Shedeur right here. Look at their hair. This is what they don't want. They don't want no more Black quarterbacks who gonna be themselves. I don't want no more visibly Black quarterbacks. Matter of fact, I don't even want none but one drop, which is why DJ Ugalele is somewhere on the practice squad. They want to move Tua out too. I was looking at Tua. I was like, we might have to put him in the Black category, because is it just me? Or his melanin seems to be increasing as time go on. I mean, that's not a bad thing, because, $10,000 an ounce. But I guess maybe I never paid attention to him like that before. But they want him gone too. If they go by the 1-drop rule, lots of melanin offends them. And you know what? That's their personal problem. Because when I look at Shedeur, Lamar Jackson, Tyrod Taylor, Michael Vick, Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson, brown skin, it's beautiful to me. But they offended by it. They threatened by it. Which is why the less of it, the better. But that's the way it used to be. They don't even want the 1 drop. because one drop still says 17 to 32. So they're clearing house. So no, the Browns do not have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart. No, the Browns do not want to play with an elite quarterback this year who's black. Because what happens if Shedeur go out there and he ball out and he win? Then Haslam going down here to Ohio State was a waste of time. Because now the Manning kid is sitting at 0-0 in conference play. And no disrespect to Arch, I like him. But the point is, they kicked up all of this dust. They were going to try to read the Heisman to get it to him just so he could come out number one. Just like they pigeonholed Shedeur to Cleveland so he could come out at number two. See, they were going to do all this rigging for the Manning kid. Just like they're doing all of the disparagement against Shedeur so he doesn't go into the place that the Manning kid is reserved for the Manning kid, which is why Haslam is at Ohio State versus UT. They did all of this to shun Shedeur from 17 to 32 and to preserve the Manning legacy over the Sanders legacy, which is why Shiloh got kicked out. Have nothing to do with your daddy. Nothing. Well, not the negative part. I mean, you know, the Sanders legacy is because of your dad, but it has nothing to do with the jewelry that you wear. It has nothing to do with what they said about Coach Prime. That's my point. He didn't do anything wrong. He's greatness, but they'll show you that when you're black, they don't give a damn about your greatness if it threatens their numbers. And that's what this is about. Shedeur was supposed to be a part of that history. History was made, yes, 16 to 32. But obviously, a lot of people don't know history was altered because Shedeur was 17 of 32. And I'm sure they felt like they got two birds with one stone because while the draft ended, it ended with 16 and not Shedeur at 17. If Shedeur would have came in at 17, there would be no stopping the Sanders NFL legacy. Shedeur has a moniker for a name. We just call him Shedeur. Some people call him grown, some call him 12, some still call him 2. He's created his own NFL legacy. For all the hell he's going through, he might as well keep wearing the number 12 because he's far different from who he was in his circumstances at 2. But it's up to him. It's up to him. Because this fight is not his to fight. His dad is the scapegoat. And he's walking in his own way. That's why I think he could go head on and keep the 12. So understand this. No, the Browns do not have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart because they went to Ohio State versus UT to show Barry who we gonna get. This who we gonna get right here. So if you have any thoughts in your head about getting Lenore Sellers, we getting this guy right here. That's why Barry was on that business trip. So they do not have his best interest at heart because they do not want to play with him because if he go out there and win, the fans gonna make it hard for Haslam to move away from Shedeur. So they know they can't even open that door. And I'm okay with that because they still don't have no O-line. And I don't want to see Shedeur get sacked like Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Justin Fields. I don't want that. I don't want it for them. But I don't want to see no more of that, period. Because he went through that in college and look at who the OC was. See, somebody thought that was a safe pick, but see, that was hell right there. You brought hell to Colorado. Now you got to try to get away from it. The question is not, do the Browns have Shedeur's best interest at heart? We know they don't. And I told you why. This is why the NFL doesn't. Because 32 owners passed on Shedeur multiple times because they knew they wanted the draft to be over and there only be 16 black starting quarterbacks. not 17. So Shedeur is the one that was sacrificed. So let's see if they ever put out a week 4. I didn't see a week 4, but then I looked at UT ranking and I said, oh, 0 for 0 on conference games. That's why I didn't get no week 4. Stay tuned for change. Maybe that's why Dylan get to play. Maybe we got to do something different because the Manning kid can't come out. Or if he do, it's going to be hard to get him out, number one. It's going to be hard for him to win the Heisman, having won no conference games. So to me, they're pivoting, but they still not pivoting to Shedeur. And this is why. So the Manning kid might not work. I might not be able to get my numbers up, but I already got the money for my stadium. So, you know, whatever. I might not get to have all of the revival of the senior, the elder Arch Manning. I might not have the excitement of bringing Eli and Peyton to Cleveland all the time. You can still do it. But they still not ready to win with a black franchise QB long term. The risk is too great for them to put Shedeur out there because they know he gonna win. Imagine Shedeur not only win, but he beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's the message? You shouldn't have never let Pittsburgh block Shedeur Sanders from being their franchise QB. See, Shedeur by himself, just his presence exposes so much fraud, malfeasance, corruption. Hell, I'm about to say racketeering. That's got to be in there. They need RICO charges. Let's put the NFL to be charged with a RICO charge. It's that serious. They need to be hit with a RICO. There's a joke running around that a content creator who talks about the SEC, a white guy, he's hilarious, don't know his name. He did a bit where he was the SEC coming in and they called in Clemson in for a meeting, the coach at Clemson. And they were trying to give him a fat severance to just go away because money is no object for them. And they'll just pay you $75 million to move on so they can win because winning is the priority. The money is not. So the way the skit ends is that Clemson coach gets to stay. And one of the ways he gets to stay is by extorting the SEC. He said, you have a dog, don't you, named Jimbo? It would be a shame if something happened to Jimbo. Now, I know that's a skit, right? And then the SEC backed off. So I know that that was a skit. But understand, that's how it works. Understand, that's how it works. See, everybody got something on everybody. Oh, I want to get something on you. That's why you got to be careful how you move. That's why I say Coach Prime got to be careful how he moves. Because that's how they get out of paying you what they owe you. And if you have something on them, that's how you end up staying in a position you should have been fired from long time ago. See, that works both ways. I knew it was a skit, but I knew also there's some reality there. And it have nothing to do with the dog. So let me see what y'all are saying about this. Hit the like button for me. Hit the like button, please. It's Friday night, 100 and I can't see. I see 59, 89, somebody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Let's see what y'all saying. Kareem say, I'm in here. Gail said, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Hit the like button if you're on your way out. Pamela, it say, we back. What's up, fam? How you doing? A 411 Mac, how you doing? Donald say, we in the building. Facts. Titus, Beast reincarnated. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Pinky, how you doing? It said, Cam got a lot of nerve to keep talking about Shedeur. I'm getting tired of these folks profiting off of tearing down Shedeur. He did good this time, Donald. He actually stood up for Shedeur from the quarterback's perspective, and he made it relatable to when he was at Carolina, and how they used to always ostracize him because he wore these hats. I was like, Cam, it wasn't the hat. They didn't care about the hat. They were looking for something, looking for a reason to exclude you or tear you down. So in this conversation with Cam, speaking up on behalf of Shedeur by saying the Browns don't have Shedeur Sanders' best interest at heart. That's his opinion. And I agree with his opinion. I agree with it because they've proven that they don't want him. And when Haslam went out to Ohio State, it told you he was going over there to scout the Manning kid. And then when they started tracking the Manning kid at the top in Cleveland until they hit 0-0 conference play. That's why there's no week 4. This told you that the talk behind the scenes in Cleveland at the radio station that keep talking about Shedeur. I told y'all, Grossi, Cabot, all of those people up there at that radio station, TV station, whatever the hell it is, know the real deal. And they know when they're going to cut Shedeur. They know they're going to trade Shedeur. People want to say, oh, I think Barry is the reason they're playing Dillon. They also thought Haslam was the reason that Shedeur got drafted. And I said no. And no, Barry is not the reason Dillon is playing. The reason Dillon is playing is the reason Shedeur is going to play. It is malpractice if they don't let them play. If you draft them and you move them on, what are you moving them on for if you haven't let them show what they can do for you? Even if you know you don't want them, you still have to, what do they say? You just have to go through the motions. You still have to go through the motions and let them play. So they have already decided where Shedeur is going to play. They have already decided where Dillon is going to play because both of them are seemingly draft capital. Because they already have the number 1 pick. They have an additional first round pick. And if they tank and they finish out last, they'll get another pick at the top. That's 3. Now that's some Barry type thinking right there. Getting the most bang for your buck. It says Shedeur will be Shedeur. He really don't care what others think. That's what I say. That's why I say God picked the right one to put in this situation. Because honestly, I don't think a lot of people could endure this. You heard about how the guy talked about going out to party and drink to cope. Shedeur doesn't do none of that. And that probably upsets them too because they can't exploit him, right? What is being yourself is too much, right? That's just crazy. It said, Cam Newton keeps spreading, speaking about Shedeur for clicks and views, like all the other haters. It says Shedeur is box office, just like Jordan, LeBron, and many others. Right. Now, in this respect, Cam was right to speak up for Shedeur. I know before he got back to ESPN, I felt like, he was on that, whatever. But he actually did the right thing. He did the right thing by speaking from a quarterback's perspective and talking about, actually, he was speaking out against what Rex Ryan said, which should never, ever come back onto TV. He need to move on to the rest home because clearly he lost his damn mind. Using stereotypes to refer to Shedeur as lazy, which is stereotypes they use against Black people. I'm like, Rex, are you serious right now? Like, is your medication due? Because you get the hell on with that. That's what he was doing. And that should be offensive to Stephen A. Because he went on to his platform that he's supposedly in charge of, putting down all Black people by using a stereotype against Shedeur, calling him lazy. Shedeur has never shown to ever be lazy. And he has no evidence of that. Just hatred. Spewing hatred. And Disney ought to fire him. There are 32 teams. Out of all of these people, is everyone focused on so-called QB picked up in the 5th round? They talking about him like they talked about his dad. You know what's interesting? I asked, now, why is it that Dillon was selected to be QB1? Why are you interviewing Shedeur about what he think about it? I'm glad he didn't answer the question. And I think the little ESPN Cleveland station posted or reposted Coach Prime's response. He said, son, you did good. He said, you did that. You did good. That was good. And I can tell you, I hadn't been over there. I went over there to get this, to get the little clip, to get this post. Their engagement is straight trash without Shedeur. That's why they're talking about him. Because when he first got there, their engagement was through the roof. ESPN's got so many, the Cleveland Browns got so many followers, and they were feeding off of it. But when people started calling them out, they had to back off of the content about Shedeur. When I tell you that content is dry without Shedeur, woo, they better keep him over there. Because when he gone, Oh, Lord. They're going to have to go find other jobs to do. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Politics of control. Yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. Acho is stepping and fetching. You know what? Acho, that whole false comparison to corporate America, I'm like, have you ever, do you even understand how corporate America works? Like, I don't even know if he had a real corporate job. I don't consider ESPN a real corporate job. I'm sorry. It's still too closely connected and they let too much foolishness going up there for me to believe that they have tight regulations. Look at all these scandals that came out with Skip and Acho and Joy and all of that, right? How you gonna sit up and say corporate America could not allow such, and you yourself were in a goddamn scandal in corporate America? Shh, shh, shh. Just let Shady come on there and talk, and you just sit there. Just sit there. Because if Shady not on there, I'm not watching. I'm not watching at all. Happy Friday, Gracie. How you doing? How you doing? It's that Acho talk badly about Angel Reese. Right, right. And again, that is one of the first posts that I responded to when I started this channel was Acho tearing down Angel Reese, talking about she can't cry if she agreed to be the villain. I'm like, she didn't agree to be the villain, Acho. She said, y'all making me the villain. Okay, I'll be it. That's not agreeing. That's just saying I'm not going to fight you on you calling me a villain. You also talking about an 18-year-old. And you upset because she has emotions. And that just told me Acho just panders. I was happy to see they went off and did their own thing. Shady, that's who need a podcast. But he's a guest on Acho. And without Shady, Acho just go left. And I'm like, bro, somebody need to teach you code because you clearly don't understand code around here, right? You loud, you wrong, you making false comparisons. You don't know what the hell you talking about because corporate America and the NFL are so goddamn far apart. The NFL isn't even regulated like corporate America. So you loud and you wrong. And learn some code. Learn some code. Joyce said, Acho is getting on my nerves now. Shady gives an accurate viewpoint and is not biased. Right. Right. I feel like Acho is just pandering for clicks and he violated code. That's what I mean. He need to learn code. And I ain't talking about Python or something like that. I'm talking about how to move in life. He needs to learn how to move in life as a part of a community. Because when people see him on the street, they think he black. But when he start talking, we know he not. And I'm not talking about his diction. I'm talking about the way he carries on and panders. Like, that's disgraceful. It's embarrassing. They don't like his celebrity, but they are profiting from it. Right. And that's why I say they're so confused. I'm like, I wonder what they thought would happen if they just shut up. Like, you think you can control his celebrity. You think because you drafted him, he suddenly became famous? He not one of your little puppets. Shedeur do more for the damn league than the league do for Shedeur. In fact, right now, the league is a hindrance to Shedeur. The reason they won't cut him is because they know that he gonna take some of the fans that they have, and wherever he going, they going too. And so are we. Because believe me, they already had wanted to, but they can't. And they thought they could smother his celebrity, but they can't. And they thought by bitching him or hiding him on QB3 that his fans will go away. That means they don't really understand how this works, which means your mentality is outdated. Like, you are already losing the war against Shedeur Sanders because he's unfazed and unbothered by your antics. You're trying to profit off of him and smother his celebrity at the same time by putting out false narratives to about 6 million people that came through the door with him. And there are about 2 million people that decided to be his fans after he got to the NFL that really didn't know him, and they called it out early. You know, I listen to y'all here in Cleveland, but all I see from this young man is just class, and he carries himself well. In other words, even your own fans don't believe the narrative, the false narrative you pushing about Shedeur. You are using old media tactics before social media existed, as if you were putting out a headline in the newspaper, and that's the only way we gonna know the truth because cable TV hadn't been invented yet. Bro, we so far past cable that don't even exist no more. We have apps. We have social media. And you act like you can defeat social media by weaponizing old guard media to hijack a narrative and push a false narrative to make us have a perception about a human being we have seen on television since he was 4 or 5 years old. You have already lost that fight. God chose Shedeur Sanders because nobody else comes to the NFL with 4 million people in tow. Nobody. So they lost this fight. Shedeur will get his playing time soon. I don't think that Dylan is not that good. Here's the thing. With them making Flacco QB2, that's so Shedeur doesn't get playing time. Shedeur will have to get playing time to actually fulfill the processes of business, whether it's corporate America or the damn mafia. The point is, they still have to allow him to play a little bit before they move on to the next draft and try to move him as draft capital. They actually have to do that because if you say, what's his draft valuation, right? He might have 0 trade factor. When they dismissed Cam from Carolina, they said he was not tradable. This man took these people to the Super Bowl and they did him dirty like that. So it was good for Cam to speak up on this particular topic about Shedeur. Hopefully he does it more often because I said it yesterday. Cam is a black quarterback or was a black quarterback in the NFL who was done dirty by the Panthers. If anybody could be able to relate to Shedeur, it's Cam. And he was relatable today. The collusion and defamation is so obvious at this point. Right. It said we all know Cam Word is not good. He was used as a pawn to block Shedeur. Yep. Hey, Freeman, how you doing? Thank you for the support. I appreciate you, Freeman. Thank you. A lot of folk are feeding off Shedeur and taking advantage of his celebrity for profit, right? But none other than the media. None other than the media and AI channels. Because I don't know who owns these AI channels, but they don't sleep. I'm like, I think they have a prompt and they just put the prompt in there. And they don't care what photo was in there. And they just snag stuff from different channels and they just throw it together. And that's it. I'm like, I think this is going on. I'm like, does this happen for the topics? I'm like, do AI channels just converge and take over a topic? If it's anything like, did they do this during the election or I don't know, if something happens in this country, do they suddenly dissemble a bunch of AI channels to put the damn algorithm in a chokehold? Because that's what's happening. And it's funny how the media was trying to move away from it. But then when they made the switch to Dylan, everybody just jumped back on it. Even Cleveland wasn't posting about Shedeur. On their YouTube channel, they weren't even talking about Shedeur. Shedeur worked his whole life to be the number 1 pick, and the NFL took that away. That's right, they did. And Lenore Sellers too, and they trying to take it from him. Shedeur will get a new contract after 3 years. You think he gonna be there 3 years? He might. I mean, Lamar Jackson is the closest situation to Shedeur. He got a new contract after no team wanted him. And that's how you snub an MVP candidate. And then they stole his 3rd MVP. And look at how they humiliated him the same way. Lamar's situation is the closest to Shedeur. And I think Shedeur just now getting it. Hey, Kane, how you doing? What do you think about Kevin S. finally giving Shedeur some acknowledgement in London? Of course, he had to pair him with everyone else like always. This damn bloke in my British accent. I didn't hear anything that Stefanski said about Shedeur in London, so I can't tell you. And I don't know if he actually acknowledged him or not. So I have to check into it, Kane. But thank you. I guess I'll probably find the interview at some point. It said they don't want black men at the head or in any leadership position. Always been power structures game. Yeah, facts. And that's why what Political Lil just said is why this is so critical, right? See, I would say must be the 23 draft, the 2024 draft. Again, I've never watched them, but I picked up somewhere between 2023 and 2024. I caught wind in 2024 that 15 black quarterbacks started the season. And there was conversation around that, right? And I thought it was interesting because that's historic. And the crazy part is number 15 at the time was Jacoby Brissett. Do y'all know he was in Cleveland too at one point? I'm like, God damn, they sent everybody to Cleveland that they want to try to get rid of or ruin their careers, especially if they black. And I think he's QB2 behind Kyler Murray. So being the number one pick if you black doesn't really have a distinction. It's good for your bank account, but they're gonna make your life hell as as Bryce Young, as Cam Ward. They have made the three of them, their football lives hell. I don't even know. I don't know if CJ Stroud was the first pick or not, but they make his life hell too. Because what the issue is black quarterbacks in their era, which was just 2 years ago, were taken over because they were becoming more increasingly drafted in multiples in the first round, 3, 3, 3. Well, this time it was supposed to be 3, but they changed it. And one of the reasons why I think they didn't change it before was because of the administration in the White House. And what I was saying is the NFL pays good money to lobbyists to stay off the executive branch's radar, which is why it was a flex when the executive branch showed up and it worked in Shedeur's favor. But right now they feel like, okay, we're good, right? We're good, right? So they kind of, not the NFL itself, but Cleveland is still at it, but they're trying to be subtle with it. But it's obvious now. It's obvious that what happened in the draft is happening in Cleveland and that the owners took him off the board. So they've already decided what they want to do. The question is, will they be able to do it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think Shedeur got too many fans, and God knew that. It said the fact that the league was just found guilty of the very thing they're doing now is crazy, right? Orchestrating and restricting the players' movements. Facts. They're actually doubling and tripling down with how they're doing 12. Right. And see, here's the thing. You would think, I just went through a collusion case where the document was made public, where I was restricting the movements of quarterbacks, black quarterbacks. And here it is. I'm bragging that the NFL was found guilty of collusion, but there was no damages. And then God pulled the Uno reverse and said, here we go again. And this ain't got nothing to do with arbitration. This going through the courts. In fact, I don't even need court. This is playing out every day in a court of public opinion, and it's turning people off. It's exposing how the NFL really operates. So basically, the NFL itself is validating all of the allegations in the class action lawsuit by Brian Flores, who's over there in London getting ready to play the Browns. Pay attention to that game. When the media said a Brian Flores defense, I was like, excuse me? All of the defenses out here ain't never had nobody's name on it. This man has a class action lawsuit that he's leading going through the courts. Pay attention. So they exposing themselves every day, but they have a who gonna check me boo attitude. So this is about 17-32 as in terms of the broader NFL and 32 owners. But what we see happening to Shedeur in Cleveland being benched third, not being named even to QB2, is about 17-32, but it's also about Haslam getting his way in Cleveland and handpicking the Manning kid as his preference. But that's not working out. Like I said, the way things are today, they may not be tomorrow. See, you thought you was winning, and now you're losing because who you going to get now? Now you're going to have to truly gamble and just get anybody that's white. Because why? You just don't want nobody that's black. So the person that you wanted to get ain't working out. So now I got to figure out who to get. And all of that notoriety Shedeur brings to me. But I'm going to push it away and go get an unknown just because he's white. And that ain't on these kids. If they don't come in here with the attitude like that, a racist attitude, that ain't on these kids. That's these adults in the room trying to use these young white quarterbacks and pit them against black quarterbacks and make them feel like, well, you deserve to cheat him because you're better than him. Like I said, everybody is not like that and don't want to be used like that. Arch is not that guy, right? But they want to disrespect Shedeur's DNA, right? That's karma. And it's going to keep on coming too. I I got respect for Shady McCoy and how he has handled Shedeur and his unwillingness to profit by tearing down Shedeur. I mean, it's not that he just not willing to tear down Shedeur. Shady took very personally what happened to Shedeur to the point where he got upset on the facility and him and Chase was about to get into it because he said he knew that Chase said some things that Shedeur wasn't this, wasn't that, and the other. And Shady said, but you said, I was like, God damn, they finna go at it. And Chase barked back. He told me, don't put words in my mouth. I was like, oh, okay. Well, Shady, you would think Shady was a Sanders. I'm just gonna say it like that. And it's not because he like him, but he's right. See, there's a lot of people that should have been upset like that. But Shady, like, I'm gonna take what come. And Shady's actually better being off the facility, off the networks. He's better being on Speakeasy. He actually makes the show better. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing, Isaiah? I've been saying he should do like Warren Moon, go to Canada League and become a legend. Right. Moon act like he couldn't see the racism with Shedeur, but he could see it with Kyler Murray, but he couldn't see it with Shedeur. Like, what is it that they said? Did they put something in y'all water? What is it? You go to Canada to escape being devalued. You sit up here and watch Shedeur be devalued, but it ain't racism. But it's racism when you left. Come the hell on, bro. That was so disappointing. They got to him too. They got to him too. Yeah, this is definitely not about football at all. Yep, King Ty, it's all racist. That's it. Starting to love this channel. Well, thank you, Rise. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. It said block CJ. Oh, okay. It's some people in here with some tools. What's going on? CJ, what'd you do? It says so. It said 12 needs an opportunity to show. Nope, 12 has already had an opportunity to show what he can do. See, that's what people. That's what's wrong with the whole situation, right? This young man already won the competition. What's 87 divided by 160? Let me do it. I know it ain't good. Because I'm pretty sure I divided this already. 54%. So when these numbers were tallied for the last time, Shedeur should have been named at least QB2. I understood why they wanted to move forward with Flacco. I think Flacco understood why they wanted to move forward with him. Flacco even wanted Shedeur to be the starter. Yeah, not the starter, but QB2, because he want to win. Damn it, I ain't come off my couch for all this, but I did come for those 13 million in incentives though. So basically, 54%. This was it. You go into court with this because why? They created this competition and it was supposed to matter until Shedeur won the competition. That's fraud. That's fraud. 54%. And you gonna put him out here in London when we sleep. Somebody said, do you think it's fair that Dylan debuts in London? I'm like, are you gonna be up to watch it? That's your answer. They know what they're doing. They already know when Shedeur gonna play too. When Coach Prime said he knew Shedeur was gonna play, because he know they got to push Shedeur out there at some point to show what he could do, or it's malpractice. Everybody's talking about that. 60% for Flacco. Shedeur was the most accurate QB on here. They had Pickett on here to suck up 56 reps that could have went to Shedeur. So Dylan had 160. Shedeur could have had 156, and Flacco 151. But if you knew who Flacco was, you take Flacco's 151 reps, divide it down the middle, and give them to Shedeur and Dylan to let them develop and duke it out for QB1 and 2. But no, Dylan was a favor to a friend. He's a wedge blocking Shedeur from the front. I can't let Shedeur play in front of Dylan. These people were willing to lose with Flacco week after week after week on Monday. But by Wednesday, they had to pivot to let Dylan play while we all sleep over here. Against a Brian Flores. Pay attention. Pay attention. Hey, Kiel, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It said, LaDon said, Shedeur said a while ago that he was very comfortable with the playbook. Right. Shedeur know what the playbook is. I don't know why Pittsburgh didn't draft Sanders. I'll tell you why. Aaron Rodgers. That's why if Shedeur was QB1 and they had to play Pittsburgh, ooh, and Shedeur go out there and beat Aaron Rodgers, ooh, the implications for that. They already talking about what's his name? Jackson Dart is playing New Orleans, the team that bypassed him. Jackson Dart was strategically placed in New York. The Saints bypassed on Shedeur because they wanted Nussmeier's son. The Cleveland Browns want the Manning kid. The New York Giants wanted Dart. I don't know who the hell Tennessee wanted. I think Will Levis. I really think they wanted to keep Will Levis and they didn't care what their fans thought. See, this on their fans. This is on their fans. These fan bases of these bottom feeder teams, they need to just stay home because they have all of the power and all of the control for these teams to do the right thing. But as long as they keep showing up like they don't have nothing else going for their life, then this is going to continue. You just wasting your money, $600 to go see the damn Browns. Hell no. Shedeur definitely gonna have to be out there for that. So yeah, he said that. Aaron Rodgers is the reason they didn't draft Shedeur. Quite a few are ear hustling and then use her talking points. Wait, what's going on? Y'all having all kind of conversations. Wait, what's going on? Tina, you're going to need to use that tool and start blocking because I don't know what's going on. I'm like, okay. So, aside from y'all having conversations in the comments, I don't know what's going on over there. It said Emmanuel Acho is first generation. Oh, okay. Okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It said they always show who they are. I just hate that because it's no reason for it, right? It's no reason for him to be like that. It's no reason for it. Melanie said Acho couldn't keep his own damn job, but has all of this advice for Shedeur. His shouting and eye bucking. I don't know. Wait, I'm just saying it don't have to be this way. It don't have to be this way. 200 of us, it's like, I don't know. Acho, if you ever see this, look, like, let's just talk for a second. Just be you authentically, whoever that is. Stop pandering to these folks. They don't like you either. Accent or not, they don't like you either. Okay. So stop hating on Shedeur and learn some code because these people think you are black in terms of like us. And you not acting like us. So we need you to be respectful of the code. And we don't selectively hate on Shedeur when he's being discriminated against by 32 NFL teams. That's against code. You don't join in on the hatred that racists bring to Shedeur. That's against code, bro. They trying to stop the generational wealth. Now, I definitely believe that because the first round pick next year should be right at $50 million. It's kind of like a parade in New Orleans. They want to decide who this. I want to get this to you, but not you, right? Like that. That's what it's like. That's what it's like. But Shedeur, unfortunately, is on the losing end of all of it. Whether it's robbing him of generational wealth, disparaging him, holding him back for 17 to 32, wanting to go with the Manning's legacy over the Sanders legacy. Shedeur has been harmed by this. He's handling it well. He's coping well. That's God. Because a lot of people, I told y'all, young folks, there's a lot of them locked up. You play with their livelihood and their feelings like that. Someone should audit his shows. He just got on there. I think he just came back. I still remember Doug Williams. He won a Super Bowl and was blackballed. Yeah. And now he's like some type of advisor. I guess after all of that, they made him an advisor to the Washington Commanders. Like on the first day of practice, they brought him in to speak to the team and all the kids was excited. So they celebrate him now. But I guess they had to get new owners for that. Hint, hint. The Cleveland Browns fans need to get together and find a way to force Haslam to sell the team. Go to public ownership like the Green Bay Packers and put the name into a trust in the city so it stays with the city. But let's see if they do it. Cam was never the same after the NFL forced him back on the field before his concussion. What? Hold on 1 second. See, I never saw him play. Hold on. I never saw Cam play. So yeah, I never saw Cam play. So honestly, I mean, maybe okay, if I was gonna watch a Cam Newton game, what's the best NFL game to watch Cam Newton play? Drop it in the chat and I'm gonna go look for it and watch it. Because I've never watched him play. But I know he was a NFL quarterback. I knew when they had Bounty Gate, he was a target because I watched it. I knew that he took them to the Super Bowl. And I was surprised to learn that he took them to the Super Bowl and they dismissed him by saying he was not tradable, which was crazy to me. So drop the name of a game, the best NFL game Cam Newton played in, and I'll go watch it. Yeah, I think these excessive concussions are malfeasance. I think they should be workplace negligence because they weaponize them. They weaponize sacks against these black quarterbacks whose careers they want to end shortly. Tua talked about he met with a doctor and they changed his diet because he was too dehydrated. They wanted him to eat more carbs or eat more of something else to keep, because your brain is sitting in liquid. And if you're dehydrated all the time, if you notice when you're dehydrated, you get a headache. So your brain is actually suffering if you're constantly dehydrated. So for athletes to go out here and get concussed all the time, they have to, one, it changes the way they move. It's almost like a startle reflex, right? A startle reflex that they get because you see it coming. And see, these guys that get sacked like that, understand this, the way Shedeur was sacked, it's a lot of players. I even talked about Caden. I'm like, I don't think Caden used to be as sacked, which is why I kind of think slightly he might be, because he saw what happened to Shedeur and he see it's happening to him. See, Shedeur is special. Nobody else has been through that. That's why he was the most NFL ready quarterback. That was just one of the reasons. Clueless K needs to just be the spokesperson for Stefanski. It said, what do you think about what the announcer said about the honeybees? I didn't hear it. I know he said something he shouldn't have said. I don't know why he would say it. The honeybees. You know, on this side of Mississippi, I support Alabama State. I don't know what he said. It just seems like ignorance to me. And he was a black man, right? Why would you do that? You know, why would you do that? These young women are getting out here. It takes a lot of courage for them to be who they are. And you look like they dads and they uncles and you tear them down like that. That's what I think about it. And I don't even know what he said, but I know it wasn't good. I knew he was suspended, but he needed to be fired. YouTube full of Shedeur, nobody talking about Cam Ward. Yeah, Cam Ward learned a valuable lesson because I still have that post. I still have that post running around here when I told y'all, I said, are they really friends? Because I don't know. I was like, I'm too sure. I wasn't too sure about it. I was like, I don't like how he's talking to Shedeur. And then now look, he getting smacked all up and down that damn field. So is. I was like, "Ooh, you learning your lesson, bro." But see, everybody learning a lesson, right? The media, they wanted to pit Travis against Shedeur. Ain't nobody selling jerseys like Shedeur. Travis, I love Travis. Travis know what's up. I love Travis, but they wanted Travis to be bigger than Shedeur. They didn't even want to talk about Cam. That's why I said they didn't even want Cam. And now look at how they treated him. Like they didn't want him. That's what annoys me. You know, you don't have to draft these players. They can go on and do their own thing. but they trying to control that too. You ever saw the movie Harlem Nights? In the movie Harlem Nights, black people got together, started their own business. And what you think happened next? Somebody else wanted to control it. And that's what it was. But yeah, I was looking for the post with Cam and telling Shedeur something about some water. He always talking about water for rich people and all of this, that, and the other. I'm like, Cam, yeah. But he learned his lesson. I'm pretty sure he didn't text Shedeur, because Shedeur told him they're gonna come for you too. Shedeur told him. He said they're gonna come for you too. He thought it was gonna be. See, Cam thought going to the draft that he made it. This is where it starts. This is where it starts. But he didn't want to believe that. But he believe it now. He believe it now. The NFL is basically telling Cam, you could be the number one pick and we still don't care. What you think NFL stand for? Drop it in the chat. Oh, and I asked y'all the other day, I said, from my philosophy class, the question was, how much land does a man truly need? 200 acres, 100 acres? You know what the answer is? 6 by 6. That's a grave plot. That's all you need, because you can't take nothing with you. Nothing. So out here trying to rob other people of what they worked so hard for, that's evil. And it ensures, that you eventually karma will meet you. Oh, is that what he said, Brian? That's sad, bro. That's sad. It said, do you think he will be fired? He should be fired. I think they suspended him for 2 games or something, or half the season or whatever. I think he should be fired, but he was not fired, I don't think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was wrong. And again, it's being arrogant because you're in a position of influence and control and power, but you're misusing it. You're using it bad instead of for good. There's a lot of things he could have said, or he could have just said nothing. Shady stood 10 toes down for Shedeur. Fast. That's what I said. You would think Shady was a Sanders. I remember when 230 people hit the like button. I remember when the facility was live. I'll be reading the comments. The facility in the comments, it's about, is this a Shedeur Sanders news page? Somebody, y'all go for Shedeur Sanders hard on here. And then after that, they was after that. I was like, damn. But I said they took them people's show off the air because they said it. And the crazy part is even Acho agreed with it. So why he ended up here sitting there saying what he's saying is crazy. Acho and Chase Daniels, 2 other people you think would not agree, was all in unison with James and Shady, and they all said it one by one. I think Shady kicked it off and said they lied to us about Shedeur. And Chase and Acho was like, yeah, they lied to us about Shedeur. And then James said it, and they all said it. And then they all went home. I was like, is y'all trying to get out your contract? Because you're going to get, I didn't say it at the time, but I thought it was weird. Because for Acho to agree and Chase Daniels to agree, that was hell opening up. Because those 2, it's like Acho was pandering. But Chase Daniels had some deep-seated hatred. Like I remember when Chase Daniels came on the facility for the first time, it said, I think Jackson Dart is going to sneak into the first round. And I said, if he good, why he got to sneak? You see? They out there holding his hand too. Understand that. Mary Kay interviewed Dollar General and asked him, how did he feel about Shedeur interview after what? She asked him about, why are they asking Dylan about Shedeur and Shedeur about Dylan? That is a straight mess. Shedeur did it the right way. I don't know what Dylan said. I don't know. He said his family wasn't coming because it was the last minute. I think it had 12 likes out. These people content is trash. What I Shedeur. Talk about a desert. Yeah. That's crazy. Shady stated that he actually talked to Shedeur, but wouldn't disclose the conversation. Yeah, he did say that. But I don't blame him. He need to keep it to himself. Brian, go to your room and close the door. Don't come out until I say so. What the hell is going on in the comments? What is going on in the comments? It's that girl, please don't speak on my topic because Brian is being a little saucy. Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know what he said. I just know he said something offensive about the honeybees. I don't think he was fired. I think he should be fired. And I think it shows when arrogance runs amok because he had a microphone that works and he had some kind of little, access. He thought he could misuse it by insulting honeybees. He should have been fired. Rex Ryan Chicklets should be fired. He definitely should be fired. And so should this dude over here at FAMU. That's all I can say. Anna Davis. Oh, never mind. Stop. Stop. Dollar General will not do well. I know he might because again. It's some circumstances here. What you think the priority is? What do you think the priority is? But for Brian Flores, who got a lawsuit running through the courts, to win in Minnesota, or Dylan Gabriel to win in Cleveland, let me know. What's the priority right now? Do you really think they want Brian Flores' defense to win in Minnesota at all? But in particular, this week against Dollar General in London, what's the priority? To stick it to Brian Flores, to prop up Dylan? What's the priority? I'll check the chat. Brian, don't be disrespectful. I'm gonna have to block you myself now. Come on. Hey, Titus. CJ was bad. God darn, y'all banned CJ from the comments. What did he say? I know CJ had been here a minute. I'm telling you, if you come in the comments and hey, moving on. They said Cleveland fans are the only thing that can make the difference. Right, man. I said it. I'm like, why is it the Cleveland fans just don't go and stay home? The black ones too. But I have learned some things. I've learned some things. I don't think it's much to do up there. I don't think it's much going on. Hell, in Atlanta, I went outside. There was signs everywhere. There's a block party over here. It's Music One Fest. It's Pose. It's so much to do here that I could not know. I think one day the Falcons and the Braves were playing, or Beyonce was playing and the Braves was playing. And Chris Brown over there at Georgia Tech doing the Breezy Bowl. So it's so much going on here that, it's not hard to go find something else to do. I just think in Cleveland, it's not much else to do, which is why they're trying to build the Star to have self-containment out there in Brook Park. That's what I think it is. But if you from Cleveland, Selmo, you from Cleveland, do y'all not have nothing else to do up there? Like, is the Browns game like owning a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, like it gives you some kind of status? Let me know. I'm curious. It said Dylan Gabriel and Flacco do not really want to play. I think Flacco wanted the incentives in his contract. Dylan just happy to be there. I don't know what he really want to happen. Exactly. They all know. It said they know we all see the play. It said at some point the NFL can't hide the fact that collusion and being sent to Cleveland as a punishment for being confident, black, and independently marketable is the thing. Right. Plus, discrimination against black quarterbacks because they don't want 17 of 32. Right. But look at how much was already a fake. There were 2-3 fake competitions that Shedeur won. These are the numbers right here. Shedeur should have been QB2 after this, but to be honest with you, he's really QB1 based on the results. And then this is before he played against the Panthers. You put these numbers with him beating out everybody again with his play for the Panthers, and he should have been QB1. But then no, what did Stefanski say? We're going to have to put him down. And he was sacked 5 times. That tells you they control that. and they promptly dismissed what became the liability known as the Goon Squad. Yeah. So, it's not that it's just the Browns don't have Shedeur's best interest at heart, but I'm sure Cam Newton cannot sit up on ESPN and say the NFL does not have Shedeur's best interest at heart. When you think about it, I think Disney is now showing Monday Night Football games. You see how that works? So the fact that Cam could even say that at all was interesting. Let's forced to walk it back. Let's see how long Rex Ryan takes before he come back. They must told him just go away, disappear for a few. We ain't gonna forget though. And then, holding the owners accountable. I think it was Joy Taylor who said, heaven forbid if anybody try to hold these teams or owners accountable. And you see, she finally got the axe. Right after it happened, she didn't get the axe. But a little bit after she said that, heaven forbid you try to hold these owners or teams accountable, she gone. But it's funny, she was spared for a long time, wasn't she? It's like they just be waiting. Most of the Browns fans are paid actors. Okay. Okay, I get it. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But see, this is where the Browns messed up. This is where the Browns messed up right here. Right. This kid won the Johnny Unitas Award. Go back and look at the last 5 Johnny Unitas Awards. Tell me who they are and where they ended up in the draft and where they ended up in NFL. Same thing with the Heisman. Lamar won the Heisman. Bryce Young won the Heisman. CJ Stroud won the Heisman. But look at how their careers have gone, right? Bo Jackson also, to my surprise, won the Heisman. And he got slapped for taking a private jet somewhere, like he owned a private jet. So you think maybe the people who invited him on a private jet knew that they were baiting him in to be set up? Just like LeBron James, the person handed him the jersey as he walks out of a restaurant, snaps a photo with it. I don't even know what this is, but it's used as if he took something he shouldn't have taken. These kids get set up, and that's why I told y'all, Shedeur's biggest test is not on the field. He's already passed with flying colors on the field. Shedeur's has the pass being set up off the field. The way they get so many. Again, what is the point of me knowing your every move if I can't use my access to keep these people, hold them accountable, and stop them from discriminating against you, humiliating you, harassing you, etc.? What is the point of that? It ain't for good. Maybe that's what happened to Quinshon Judkins. Maybe that's what happened to Isaiah Bond. What a coincidence. They both played for Cleveland. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Nobody but God. That's it. That's it. That's it. That is it. Look at Cam's post Super Bowl press conference. Okay, I will. That boy Wig said, let me start this. That boy Wig said 2015 to 2016 NFC Championship game against Arizona. He went crazy. Okay, I will watch it. So what was it? 2015 or 16 NFC Championship game. The Carolina Panthers versus Arizona. Okay, I'm going to put that on my list of to-do. PL said that might empty the stadium. The owner, we get that message quickly. Right, stay home. Jonathan Temple. Oh, okay. Shedeur can fill up a stadium on his own. All of their fans who don't like him can leave and it won't matter. Right. Here's the thing, right? Shedeur we said, coming into the league with 3 million. It's actually probably 4, but let's just go with 3 million. Shedeur's 3 million fans, or is it 2 million? I think it's 2 million. I think his 2 million fans can fill up 42 NFL stadiums. There are only 32 NFL stadiums. That's a threat. That's not only a threat to my league, because you bring in your culture with you and your fans, but they're going to hold me accountable. Yes. And that's what we see happening right now, right? They loved his engagement whether it was in the draft, whether it's in Cleveland, and they tried to move away from it. And they did. I watched their page. I clicked through it. I'm like, oh, they're not talking about Shedeur no more. Because I think they got called out that y'all are mistreating him on the field, but exploiting him on camera. So what did they do? They let the media in the locker room. I didn't even know they did that. I mean, maybe they do, but the guys weren't even fully dressed. I'm like, you can't respect these players enough to wait for Shedeur outside the locker room, and you need to be over there talking to Dylan. See, Dylan got an attitude because he don't get no love from the media, but Shedeur is not asking those people to talk to him. They just want to get engagement from him. I heard one girl get frustrated, like, oh, he's not going to say nothing. I'm like, damn, where's the respect here? It's almost like they feel like these guys are in some kind of servitude where they have to talk to them regardless of how they feel. That is a contractual obligation. So that's why the media acts like that. People saying he could have just walked off. He can't because his contract says he can't. But apparently it says nothing about non-verbalization of a message. But I'm sure it will next year. I'm sure it will next year. Surprisingly, they didn't say anything publicly about it. I think they tired of people trying to hold them accountable. Cam was really good. Check out the Panthers. Okay, I will. Thank you, Lily. That boy Week says it stands. The NFL stands for not for long. What else does it stand for? Based on what you know, what else does it stand for? Oh, I'm going through the comments to see what else y'all say it stands for. No Fun League. Okay, I remember that. I remember them saying that. Okay, something else. Oh, okay, Tina. Okay. Thank you. I didn't know what he said. Dylan Gabriel is going to be what they drafted him to be, a backup, right? And they don't expect Dylan to aspire to want to be nothing else, which is crazy. And I think it's because he really was supposed to be an undrafted free agent. So they did him a favor by drafting him up to the 3rd round. But they drafted him to the 3rd round as a backup because they knew at that point, they knew that they were going to trade Travis away and get the number 1 pick. So I don't need you to be the starter. And understand, when they knew they could get the number 1 pick from Jacksonville, they knew who they wanted to get as the number 1 pick, which is why there was so much pressure on the Manning kid. And it's funny how all of the talk about the Manning kid seemed to stop instantly, but nobody can get the media to stop talking about Shedeur. They can hold everybody accountable about the Manning kid, but nobody gets held accountable for disparaging Shedeur. Nobody. Beach said National Fix League. That's where we headed. The NFC Championship game he played in 2015. Okay, I'm going to watch that. I wish we could review games, but copyright. It said Cam was really good. Check out the Panthers and the Packers 2015 and the Panthers and the Cardinals. Okay, thank you. He said his dad doesn't have a passport. Yeah, he did say that. He said we got to give my dad a passport. Oh, okay, that's understandable. Dollar General will have a stool in the pocket. So what y'all think the game plan is? What I think the game plan is for Quashawn Junkins to break 100 yards with Dylan check down in his way. I think it said Dylan has had only 10 reps so far, whereas Flacco has had like over 200 or something like that. So that's what I think. I think they chose this game because it's at 9:30 in the morning in Atlanta, which means probably what, 6:30? What time is it in California? If it's 9:30 here, I feel like it's 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours. Yeah, I think it's 3 hours. So that's 6:30 there. That's kind of gonna come and go if nothing happens. Now, if they put Shedeur in that game, everybody gonna be talking about that forever. Everybody gonna be talking about forever. Now, I'm just gonna say, from a strategic standpoint, I'm not trying to help these people out anyway. If you honestly really wanted, let Shedeur and Dylan play first half, second half, and that's it. And then y'all can get off my back about Shedeur. That's really what they should do. But they so evil with it. The hatred is so selective. They're like, well, because honestly, they could put him in the game now for draft capital evaluation, why nobody's really paying attention and nobody expects Shedeur to play. And it could be a 1-2 punch. And now I could go the rest of the season with Flacco if I want. That's smart, right? I don't want them to do that. But you think that's what they would do. But they seem so hard-headed that we just going to hold Shedeur back to the last week of the season and let him play the second to the last game. And maybe nobody will pay attention because we probably lose it. They don't seem to be interested in winning. But I believe their fans have called them out. I'm sure they done got some phone calls or some DMs or some texts talking about, we spent $10,000 on these tickets and you don't even care about winning. Right. Hold them people accountable. Shedeur and Cam competed beyond being athletes. Shedeur and Travis competed beyond athletes. Shedeur couldn't mess with Travis as an athlete. What? Shedeur and Travis don't even play the same position. What you talking about? Why would they be competing against each other? They're the dynamic duo. CJ is an op. You had to see how he be talking when you're not looking. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Kiel said, thank you for that, Amber. Kiel said not for long. Yep. Go Tech. What you talking about, Matt? Oh, you talking about Georgia Tech? They're having a breezy bowl over there. That's what I think. It's all kind of stuff happening. Again, oh, let's see. Go Taste This. Steve said, I'm from Cleveland. What was the question? The question is, do y'all have anything else to do in Cleveland besides go to a Browns game? The reason I'm asking is because the team has been trash and it costs a lot of money. And I'm like, is there nothing else to do on a Sunday at 1:00? Maybe go to church. Is there nothing else in Cleveland to do? Because it seems like on the outside looking in, going to a Browns game is the equivalent of driving a Cullinan through a small town. Everybody like, ooh, who is that? You know, a status symbol. That's the question. Let me know. Premier Sports Talk, how you doing? It said Tech doing better than them birds. Let them play in the bins. Okay. It said, is there any other activities besides Cleveland sports? Okay, Amber asked the question. I'm glad the Cleveland baseball team lost. Oh, okay. The Guardians, right? Hell, I would watch them before I watch the Browns. I mean, at least I don't know about the Guardians, so there's a lot to go learn. The Browns not good. I see how they conduct business. I look at how they use the Browns as like a prison for black quarterbacks, right? Why would you waste your time on that? That's my point. The NFL owns 10% of ESPN. ESPN now owns the NFL Network. Yes. Now, what's the implications of that? I have 2 lawsuits in court. So when I need discovery from the media, can I get it? They're now owned by ESPN. Checkmate. Remember, the NFL Media Network disparaged the hell out of Shedeur. Anybody remember April 4th, 2024, CU Pro Day? How NFL Network was acting? Bucky Brooks told Shedeur at the Shrine Bowl, you know, we have to do that for ratings, talking about disparaging him. Shedeur said, yeah, I know. My dad told me that's what came with it. I'm like, that ain't what come with it. I'm like, that ain't what come with it. This is racism. Racism don't come with it. It's not supposed to. And suddenly they decided to sell. Remember, they have a case out there that had moved it out. And they want discovery. So seems like to me they're getting a lot of time to massage some things before that discovery can be granted. Because the case is not frivolous. So, yep, you're right. Panthers and Falcons 2026. Oh, I bet that's a good one. Okay. I'm saving all of the recommendations for what games to watch for Cam. You know, I actually hope the best. I don't know Cam, but I do. I hope the best for him. Why? Because he actually has a lot of good insight into the NFL, just like Shady. Imagine Imagine Shady and Cam Newton on the same podcast. Not Ocho and Shady, but Shady and Cam. That's a whole lot of football insight. Cam really has some good information. He can use it for good or he can use it for bad, just like anybody else. But he has a lot of good insight to share. He's extremely knowledgeable about the game from an experience perspective. See, that's the perspective that I like to listen to because I didn't play football and I didn't work for the NFL. So I listen to people like that. But when they start going off on a tangent and trashing their own, I'm out. I'm out because y'all get enough of that from the NFL. Why would you do that to each other? Right? This is why when Ocho and Cam was going back and forth, I was like, y'all can start an 11 on 11 and stream it. That's where that came from. Kenny Pickett is on the list of Johnny United's Golden Arm recipients. Oh, well, maybe that's not a good, not a good indicator. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Hey, Blue Moon, how you doing? It said, did you guys touch on CU and TCU yet tomorrow? No, we talking about it tomorrow. But if you want to put it in the chat, you can. 226 of us. Feel free. I'm just hanging out tonight. I don't have a prediction for the game. I hope we win. But I'm looking for something else. I'm looking to make sure that the wide receiver core is not being held back. I'm looking to make sure Caden is not being set up. I saw the little interview where they were in the team meeting and Coach Prime called a few people up to the front, including Caden, to tell them what they mean by consistency. And Caden said he was going to trust the O-line. See, I told you. He going to trust the O-line. I need him to run to the left because the things I'm looking for is really predicated around the game plan. Did we come to Dallas with a plan for the receivers to be elite and we use them in the proper way and not only get 1 and 2 targets? Are we really going to utilize our quarterback as a true dual threat, or are we going to hinder him because he's headed to the NFL? Are we going to throw the ball to Sincere Brown, who's also headed to the NFL? Are we going to hold back this team when they start off fast and get 14 points and go 14-0? Or is Pat Schumer going to gift wrap the game and give it to TCU because they're 3-1 and we don't have nowhere to go? Is there a plot to make sure Coach Prime loses, go 4-8 or worse, so he can stay at or near the bottom of the Big 12 so they can fire him, knowing that he was never going to get to live out that $54 million contract? That's what I'm looking for. So for me, I can't celebrate ahead of time because Georgia Tech and BYU tells me if these players come out here and give you the effort that I know I've expected from them, and they answered the call and gave you the effort, and they went up and put this game away at 14-0, and play calling gives it away, I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm in a wait and see mode. I'm looking for the play. I'm looking to see if this game is going to go the same way Georgia Tech game or the same way against BYU. I'm looking to see if we're going to set it up so that U of H, Georgia Tech, and BYU and TCU all get their way. And Coach Prime's coaching reputation gets hurt. And so do the players. I'm looking to see what the priority is from a business perspective for Colorado, not Coach Prime, Colorado. Are they doing right by Coach Prime, or are they doing what they did with the other black head coaches? 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. Because Mel Tucker left in his first year. He was going 5-7. They also gave him a long-term contract, 6, 7, 8 years, but they walked it back and reduced it and said it was a mistake to give him that contract. And somebody reached out to him about Michigan and he didn't take it seriously, Michigan State. And he said they reached out to him again and he listened. By that time, he was 5-7. And he was the third black quarterback that sat and watched as 2 other black quarterbacks obviously was set up to fail and only got 2 years to prove themselves. So I think he decided to take the job at Michigan State. But Michigan State was nothing but disruption. See, Coach Prime could probably get fired from CU, get paid $44 million, and get hired by someone else. But I don't think that's the goal. Because why? Coach Prime has 3 black quarterbacks. And if Caden was allowed to be a true dual threat and we had a competent offensive coordinator, Colorado will be up probably 4-0. Georgia Tech was not hard. BYU was not hard. We had both of these teams on the road. I can't say U of H was not hard because they put Staub in, so I don't really know what the hell they look like. But I know they undefeated. TCU is 3-1. So are they going to be allowed to have their way? And are we going to be held back at their expense? Or see, you going to be held back because there's a bigger plot here. Coach Prime is the longest tenured black coach Colorado has ever had. And they've had them back to back to back. And I don't think he no different than them. This looks just like the draft to me. We lured you in and made you think you was different. And now we got you over here away from Jackson State. And that's going the way it's going. And you brought that over here to us. And now that we got those relationships in place in the pipeline together, we're going to carve you right on out the way. That's what I'm looking for tomorrow. This is not just a regular football game. This tells you, or it confirms, is there a plot to go 4-8 or worse? Because the first head coach that was fired, he also went 4-8. Now, I don't think that's a coincidence. And he was black. And he was Colorado Buff alum. Coach Prime is none of that. And that Prime effect, understand, I don't need that no more. I just need to win. I got everything else I need in place. So that's it. We didn't get on the predictions. We're probably going to talk about it during the game tomorrow. But if you want to put your predictions in, go ahead. But this game is a little different. I'm just kind of looking to see what's transpiring, what's really going on. Go taste this, see, ain't it? What you mean? What you say that ain't it? Let us know. Oh, are you saying that the Browns are not the only thing to do, or it's not a status symbol? Let us know. Dylan is bland, no excitement. Shedeur brings the game and swag. Right. Ain't nobody coming to see you. Facts. It said the east side of Cleveland holds rich culture. Like what? Like when you say rich, what do you mean by rich? And I'm gonna have to look up the east side of Cleveland because I'm curious. I've been to Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, but I wasn't there very long. It was cold. And I ate at a diner and a seafood restaurant called Blue something. That's all I remember. Then I remember the trip to the airport. That's about it. That's about it. Same thing for Minnesota, in and out. It says Isaiah says the beach, Colorado has to show me no offense. Schumer has to go. Right. That's what I'm saying. I really just kind of want to see. Oh, 22 said what NFL mean. Thank you, 22. I appreciate it. C22. We got another 22. Another 22. It said, can he pick it? Oh, that's crazy. Kenny Pickett. That's nuts. Tasty C said 917. Okay. Arch Manning is no longer in the Heisman conversation. Right. And that's why I'm thinking that they're no longer putting out this. This is the last one. I was like, wait a minute. We're in week 4 going into 5, right? So they haven't put out one. They didn't put out one for last week. If so, I didn't see it. I went looking for it in 2 places. And this is the last one I could find. And look at how they got Dante Moore at the bottom and Arch Manning at the top. I'm willing to bet you Dante Moore is better than Arch Manning right now. And I ain't watched neither one of them play. But based on what I've heard, but you see, they got Arch Manning at the top because, see, I told somebody, I said the reason why the local station is tracking Arch Manning at the top is because Haslam ran out there to let everybody know how he going to spend his number 1 pick. But see, it backfired. And this is what I mean by who going to check me, boo, is going to come to an end. Because just like Haslam thought he knew what he was going to do, and now he got to do something else. The NFL thought they knew what they was going to do with Shedeur, and they already had to do something else. And then the same cycle was going to repeat itself. We want to do this to him, but then you're going to have to do something else. In other words, everything they keep trying is failing, but they still keep trying. At what point do you just stop? That's a God thing right there. 9:17. It said, so yep, he's out of the Heisman situation. Oh, y'all saying the game come on at 9 o'clock. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. It come on at 6 o'clock in California. Oh Lord. Many former players state that Rex Ryan needs to worry about his foot scandal. Right, because I called him a toe-sucking bum. You facts about that. You facts on that one. I'm like, how are you talking? But people were saying that he wanted to get another job in the NFL. I'm like, so you think you're gonna tear down this young black elite quarterback kid that you referred to as a kid and proceeded to tear him down with them chiclets teeth because you want to get a job? You're not gonna hurt nobody else so you could benefit. It don't work like that. He gonna learn. They need to fire him with no severance. Let him go file for unemployment and get denied because he got fired for wrongdoing. It said Dylan is a T-Move Caitlin Clark. Okay, this is my first time hearing this one. This is my first time hearing this one. X, I referred to him because they were saying he was talking about Shedeur. I said, that's exactly why he's little Dollar General. And people liked it. I was like, because he keep buying into the being propped up. He's really buying into it. Maybe for his own mental sake, he actually has to. The T-Move Dollar General. That's crazy. Dollar General will be wearing high heel wedge. Yeah. That's why I said I really think that they're going to use Quinshon Judkins tomorrow. I think they're going to have Quinshon Judkins to finally get over 100 yards. Because understand this. When Flacco played, he threw for about 200 yards on average. I don't even know. I think he had one game where he didn't break 200 yards. But remember, I counted his reps, right? It said he would throw for 45 reps on average per game, which is why he's already thrown for over 200 through the 4 games they played. I think it's 4 games is week 4 going into week 5 for them? Going into week 4. So I would love to see Dylan throw 45 reps because I know it's going to be some interceptions. When he played in the game against Philadelphia, let me see how many reps he threw. I bet it wasn't 45. Philly versus the Browns preseason. I bet it wasn't 45. Let's see. The final score was 22 Browns, 13 Eagles. I'm looking for the stats. Here it is right here. It was August 16th, 2025. Boy, time is moving. We're about to be talking about Christmas. We got to get to Halloween first. We got to get to Halloween first. I'm like, man. All right, let's see what the stats are. Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel was 13 of 18. This man had 18 reps. 143 passing yards with 18 reps. Jeez. Let's see. That's crazy right there. So basically, they played probably a conservative ground game. That's what I'm thinking they did. They played a conservative ground game. That's crazy. That's not a lot of yards at all. And see, that's what I think they're trying to move forward with. They want to get a quarterback in Cleveland who could just hand off the ball to Quinshon Judkins. I'm surprised that he hasn't broken. I'm really truly surprised that he hadn't gone over 100 yards already. I thought he would have by now. Maybe this game. Maybe this game. But yeah, it's that's crazy that he didn't even have 200 yards. They only let him throw the ball 18 times. Yep, 18 times. That's it. That's nuts. And Flacco, I think he threw the ball like 45 times. So it tells you that when Dylan plays, hold on one second. They run a conservative game and it's probably heavy on the ground. And when Flacco plays, they let him air it out. See, Shedeur gonna want to throw the ball 45 times or 35 times or 25 times, but 18 times? And you only have what, 150 yards? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's no good. That's not exciting football. That's just a C minus. Let me just get out of here. Let me just get out of here. Let's see. Yep, that's all it was. It was 18 reps. And Flacco normally throw for about 45 reps. But see, remember that game, Dylan had 143 yards. That game had, let me see something, 143 divided by 18. Let's see. That's 8 yards per pass, check down. So that's what I'm thinking. That's the type of game I think they're going to play in London. I don't know if I have who was on the running game. That's what I was trying to see. Well, anyway, what I think is going to happen is I believe that they're going to run the same kind of game where Dylan has less than 20 reps through the air, about averaging 8 to 9 yards, check down, check down, check down. I think that's how they want to win with Dylan going forward. And if something happens to Dylan, they want to go back to Flacco. They don't want the exciting play that we saw from Shedeur with the Panthers. That's on their fans to demand exciting, real football and not scripted football. That's up to the Browns fans. You know, that's just the reality. That's up to them. A lot has been done. They have a lot of power, but they don't use it. Shedeur is designated as an emergency QB. He will not play unless both Dylan and Flacco are disqualified or injured. Right. And there was actually a coach, somebody who I think was a coach or in the know, who said it's actually good for Shedeur to be QB3 because if he gets in the game because something happened to Dylan, he's going to have to play Dylan's game. The guy said there's a quarterback plan for the game and quarterback 1, maybe 2 or whatever. But at the bottom, he said there's a small set of plays in case of emergency, that type of thing. He said you don't want that. And you don't want to get in behind Dylan because Stefanski and any other coach would make Shedeur play a game that's tailored for Dylan. I don't want to see Shedeur check down, check down. That's what they tried to force Shedeur to do against the Rams. And you see what happened. It said it's better to wait until the game plan is tailored for Shedeur. And you can tell Stefanski does not want to do that. So I have said this before. If Shedeur stays in Cleveland, Stefanski gonna have to go. It's Shedeur or Stefanski. That's it. And Haslam need to be gone with him. And ESPN is a mouthpiece for the NFL, right? How can ESPN not have a conflict of interest with what it's sharing about the NFL, which is, again, why when Louis Riddick said the NFL was biased about Shedeur, whether it was the Browns or the NFL, he ended up having to walk that back. Let's see if Cam has to walk back what he said about the Browns, because for the NFL to have 10% ownership in ESPN, that's a conflict of interest for one of your analysts to put down one of the 32 franchises that make up the league. Let's see what happens. And then again, that tells you why Rex Ryan is even on the desk in the first place. Let's see how long before he come back. And that's where fans need to go against Disney. Salter better not trust that O-line. They have to show me first, right? I hope he was just saying up there saying something in the room. He said he's gonna trust the O-line to protect, trust the wide receivers gonna get to their open spots and something else. I'm like, notice nobody talks about Allen, and that's their main problem. That's why I'm in a wait and see approach on this game. I believe in those kids. I do not believe in Pat Schumer, and Doc is sketchy as hell. I'm not 100% out on him, but I think he was overpaid. I think Doc got paid for Travis, Chidozie, BJ Green, Nakai Hill Green, Keaton Wade, and Levanta Bentley. That's what I think Rob Livingston got paid for. They're going to make sure Lamar is retired early. You know that. You know they asked Lamar Jackson about his career ending. He said, I'm only 28. I don't think Lamar knew at the time. They asked him that question. They was telling him. I was like, the media asking Lamar about the end of his career. I'm like, and y'all gave Daniel Jones 6 years to be trash, but Lamar Jackson, the 3-time MVP, even though you stole the third one, he still earned it. You want him to go right now. If that don't tell you these people ready to get these black quarterbacks the hell on out of here, 16-32, and Shedeur 17. Yep, that's all it is. That's really what it is. All right, so we're gonna get ourselves out of here. I guess I'm going to enjoy the weekend. I'll be back tomorrow, and everybody that's coming to the same meeting point, the alignment, the Browns, whether they say that the Browns don't have Shedeur's best interest, facts, and one of the reasons the Browns don't want NFL fans, their fans, the Browns fans, to be excited about Shedeur Sanders the same way we were excited in the Panthers game, that we was selling out that damn arena, and 1 point so many million people watched it. It said because they have no intentions to play an elite QB who can win this year. They do not believe Dylan is elite. That's why he only had 18 reps. Understand that. They want Shedeur gone because they don't want him to be the quarterback, because they had their sights set on the Manning kid. Well, now the Manning kid is a bust, so they need to regroup. And let's see who they come up with. All right, we're going to get out of here. This was awesome. This was fun. I guess I'll see y'all later. I'll be back tomorrow night, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for hanging out with What She Said Sports tonight. See y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Be sure to join our daily live stream and listen up to What She Said Sports on the go on Spotify. Thank you for watching What She Said Sports. Stay for another video.